Trudy, do we have any ice? You son of a bitch.
Anyway, sometime in the summer of 48. No, 1932. No, 1939.
But when I say I want the moon, I expect the moon.
Because he was caught with chewing gum on his pubis.
World handed to us on a plate, and then you swing in on a chandelier, drop your pants, and crap on it.
You're a very, very gifted storyteller.
I killed my CO.
You have lost your mind!
Where the hell are you supposed to be?
Because Scouts honor.
This is my business.
I mean business!
Hello and welcome to Blowing Smoke, the officially unofficial Mad Men podcast, where we dive into each and every episode of one of the very greatest pieces of televisual storytelling ever. So sit back, relax, and smoke 'em if you got 'em, because this right here is the Cure for the Common podcast. We're your co-hosts, Kyle and Levi Huffman. I'm Kyle.
I'm Levi.
And here we are, diving still into Season 1 of Mad Men with Episode 4, New Amsterdam. Not that old Amsterdam you're used to. Not your daddy's
Not
Amsterdam.
the Ann Wept Amsterdam. Oh, sorry, we're a couple episodes away from that.
So close. We're getting closer and closer. It's going to be a big moment for us. How you doing, Levi?
I'm okay.
So we're recording this on December 7th
Mm-hmm.
of 2024. Of course, a special day for Roger for the right in all the wrong reasons. Just shout out to Roger Sterling and his memory on a day like
Season
today.
4 moment that will be coming up eventually, but
filters in through the show after that a little bit here and there. So this episode, again, I think, definitely the first few, while good, are setting the table. I feel like as we're moving forward, we're starting to see this world of the show develop more and more.
I was going to say, I feel like that's what I was just thinking. I'm glad you said that. That this, I think, is... this and 5G are really the beginnings of the show as a show in a big way. I mean, you'd have that a little bit with Marriage of Figaro, somewhat, but I feel like this episode it's more concerned with The Office explicitly, and a lot of that kind of, as well as some stuff going on in Ossining, but I appreciate that this one's a lot more about office intrigue rather than on the home front, which had kind of taken the forefront for a couple episodes.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel like this is, I mean, we keep saying this is a first for this is a first for that. I feel like this is maybe the real first episode of Mad Men in a certain way, as far as, like, it being about clients and people making stupid decisions with clients and people being threatened with termination and kind of the inner workings of Burt Cooper.
Yeah, I really appreciated what you said last episode about this is not a show that deals in life and death scenarios as many of the prestige contemporaries of it do. Like, a version of getting killed on Mad Men is you get fired. It's just like that's what the stakes
like
that
real
this
life
world lives in. Which I definitely appreciate, and I think too, like, and we've already talked a little bit about this in the early rounds of the Don and Pete relationship, but this episode especially is about class and specifically Pete's sense of class and where he fits into the office, where he fits into his own family, and so there's a lot. I think again the stereotype of Mad Men is it's a show about heterosexual white men, which of course is a vast oversimplification of what the show's about. But even so, even within that group, that is not as homogenous as from sometimes the outsiders looking in it may appear, because there's a lot of microaggressions and micro differences. I mean, like, you just look at Don, Pete, and Roger as kind of our three main leads. I would say over the course of the whole show, but most especially here, this stage of it, but I think that's true of the whole show, that even all three of them, obviously generationally, they're coming from different places, but even in class, like, they're also coming from different places.
All funny enough, being rich in the end, which is strange, because two of them were born kind of being rich, and then
both of them
one
are kind of
definitely
in,
not,
and both of them
so-
are kind of into stages of
Right.
declining clout. I think
Yeah.
weirdly Pete more so than Roger, even though Rogers is more this long-term thing that happens over the course of the show. Meanwhile, Don is, he's basically playing an imposter of a man who is from this place or has it all together. In the 2 episodes ago, the most we've seen really alluded to his past, where that, he just kind of is a middle America guy, like through the pigskin, and he was just a regular guy, which we know is not true. What is a regular guy anyways, right? So just to dive into some particulars with this episode, again.
We should say, first of all, because we've been forgetting to talk about the ratings.
Right, yeah.
So, obviously, first episode of Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, 1.65 million. Ladies' Room, second episode, 1.04. Marriage of Figaro, 1.07. And then with this one, you had a drop to 0.85.
So 850,000.
So, and then interestingly, we'll see over time that actually it goes down to 0.75 with 5G, and then a little bit back up with Babylon, 0.81, and then Red in the Face, 1.02. So, and Wept caused a resurgence.
Everybody was talking about it. Everybody's on the message board.
That does have one of my favorite endings to an
get
episode. I'll talk about when we get there, Babylon, if I remember it correctly. But anyway, with New Amsterdam, getting to that, I guess we can read about. So it is the 4th episode, premiered on August 9th, 2007.
Thursday again, yeah.
Thursday. Pete faces pressure from his wife, Trudy, regarding a new apartment. He also further alienates Don and almost loses his job at Sterling Cooper by pitching his own copy to a client in a social setting. Bert Cooper advises Don to retain Pete because of his society connections. Betty meets her neighbor, Helen Bishop's ex-husband, and babysits Helen's son, Glenn. So, this is, like we were just saying, I feel like the beginning of a lot of important threads. Trudy, of course, being her first episode officially in it. We get to know more about Pete's backstory. I think it's interesting, of course, that and this is the nature of the show, and this is an obvious thing to say, but it's something I was just kind of thinking about, is we get to know everybody's backstories before Don's, almost, and it's like, we get to see how miserable everybody else is around, and then he's the ultimate misery, like, of, oh, wow, we've been building up to that this whole time, and I'm assuming yours says pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I'll just read it really quickly
Yeah.
here. Pete Campbell oversteps the mark when he pitches an idea for an ad campaign to the head of Bethlehem Steel without telling Don Draper. Draper wants him fired, but learns a lesson in corporate politics. Pete's wife wants to buy a Manhattan apartment, but he has to approach his cold and distant parents for a loan. Pete's in-laws, however, more forthcoming. I think, too, this is another, first of all, like Trudy, played by Alison Brie, in this, one of my low-key favorite characters in the show. She's like not obviously a major character in the realm of the women, even as much as like certainly Peggy, your Betty, your Joan.
But she always has some sort of she's very pleasant, but like she always has some form of like comeback that is always like
very subtly
castrating. Literally, it's like, oh my god, I can't recover from that kind of.
And also like her and Vincent Kartheiser's chemistry is really, I think, one of the most under-remarked things about the show.
It's probably actually my favorite married couple to watch on this show, pretty consistently.
And I'm specifically thinking of moments like later on, like not as much in season 1, but like still, it's laying the groundwork for all that. And also, we get a window into both Pete's parents, which is what we say about them, and also his in-laws, which are
more characters than his own parents
father-in-law.
Yeah.
Now, his mother kind of comes in and out of the show, kind of comically, specifically later on.
Is this the only scene that the dad's even in?
I think it is.
Episode?
I think it is,
okay.
yeah, because, spoiler alert, Mohawk Airlines Award's got a big one to him one day.
It's the strangest thing.
Yeah. Am I going to cry? Yeah.
Don's like, what?
Like, man, I thought my dad had a dramatic death, but
well, I don't know. I think dying in a plane crash is somehow less dramatic than getting kicked in the head by a horse, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I think like if you were to like we were to like tell somebody like, well, my father died in a plane crash, everybody would be like,
well, because there's more than one death there, more than likely.
Wow. But then kicked by a horse, there's a very specific like incident that had to happen where that like happened, Pete's dad.
He wears shorts and
you know, who knows? Like, only has one episode. Might go out with a loss already, like with
or a win.
We'll come to that conclusion later. I've already got an idea about some winners and losers in my head.
I haven't actually been thinking that much about this one, so
once we watch it if it changes. But
you remember Pete Campbell's last day?
What you love is like we're in episode 4 and it's already his last day.
And like it's funny, when I was watching through it, I already knew, because it was the show had been on. I was like, yeah, he's in the show later. So
like, joke's on you, funny man. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember Peggy was in this one much.
I don't think she's much of the focus of this one.
Yeah. I don't know. What do we want to tap dance anymore before we get into it?
Well, I feel like there's something. I mean, I think this is an important one of talking about, obviously, and we're going to talk about it throughout, the idea of, something that Matt Zoller-Seitz said in his review of this episode was that it almost said, like, everybody, it's like Pete has money, but he doesn't have money. It's like everybody surrounding him has money, but he himself doesn't really have any, kind of thing,
Which, people who come from a more blue blood, upper crust portion of society, they're the only ones who can get away with such fallacies in life, Everyone else has to legitimately, like, either work a job or, like, actually be doing... And, we're going to see this. Like, Pete is very successful at what he does, like, as an accounts man. He's kind of perfect for that role. This is one of those instances of him trying to play creative a little bit, too, and think he's the next Don
Draper. Well, he kind of done that a little bit in the Lucky Strike thing when he stole from the research.
But then that kind of ended
I find your whole approach perverse.
That ended on such a triumphant note for Don that it kind of papered over that moment, and this is going to kind of revisit, well, he's going to try it again, and we'll see how it works out. But, something else Seitz mentioned that I didn't think about is, like, there's a lot of people in this ad space that deep down wanted to be doing something else, because, later on, Paul is not, like, brought along with him, and he writes a Star Trek episode, like when he's in his Hare Krishna, phase of his life.
Right.
Pete wants to, like, write a short story that gets published later on in Boy's Life. Yeah. Ken Cosgrove, he does get something kind of published and is objectively the most successful in that regard, and he's a writer later. And I know they're listening to, like, a Bob Newhart record, which is wild because Bob Newhart only recently, like, passed away, which speaks to just
young.
how...
Yeah, well, that shows how young he was then,
Yeah, too. But, and, that idea of, Don is always somebody who's wanting to go and do other things or think about things, but he ends up always advertising as this tractor beam for his particular talents and skill set that he never strays from. So, again, I think this is a really good episode, like I said, about cracking in a little bit to the subtle differences that exist between these characters that seem as though they would all be the same thing from this world, but in actuality that it's a little more nuanced than that. Yeah. So, anything else before we get
I think we're ready.
All right, so we're going to take a brief station break. You're going to hear, I think this was from the late 50s, a Sports Time newsreel brought to you by our sponsors for today, Bethlehem Steel.
This is Harry Wismer with another edition of Sports Time, brought to you by Bethlehem Steel Company, steelmakers, fabricators, and shipbuilders for the nation. John Q. Niblick, average Saturday golfer. This is your life. A day you spend on that vale of tears and sorrow called the public golf course. It began just like every other golfing Saturday. You got up at dawn, rushed down to the course, and found the same old situation. Lines and lines and lines of cars. Hundreds of people there before you. John Q. Niblick. This was the first tear in the fabric of your golfing day. The second rip was expected. When you signed up, the man said you'd have hours and hours of waiting just to get on the course. It was a blow, but you took it like a duffer, swinging wildly. Do you remember the first tee, John Q. Niblick? You and your foursome could barely find sitting room, a place to squat while waiting. You spent the morning there, arguing old golf scores, grumbling, arguing, grumbling, and then unexpectedly it happened. It was your turn to tee off. A crowd gathered for the big moment, a crowd of those still waiting. Remember how free and easy it made you feel to have that audience watch you tee off? That audience stayed with you, didn't it, Mr. Niblick? Even when you were putting on the green, there they were, watching and waiting. Sure made you feel relaxed. It wasn't long before you put on a real show for them, trooper that you are. You made that sand trap famous when you had to pay rent for staying there too long. It gave you pleasure to bring laughter to your fellow men, didn't it? But soon it was the 18th hole. The Saturday round was over. All the cares of the week replaced by the cares of the golf course. You worked your weary way home. And as you arrived, your wife, Mashie Niblick, starts to leave, off to play her own round of golf, to fight her own way across the crowded public fairways. And as she fades into the sunset, you wave a weak farewell. John Q. Niblick, average Saturday golfer. That was your life. A day you spent on that vale of tears and sorrow. The public golf course. What can we say? But better luck next weekend.
And here we are. We're back. What did you think of that? Making like just a guy on the golf course, having some fun.
I don't want to take totally away from that, but it made me think of the Barry Goldwater Choice documentary,
which we've already decided we will be doing a bonus episode commentary.
If you're not aware of that, go look that up. It was for the 1964 election. It was like a campaign film that they made, basically taking down the Kennedy era and the Johnson. Presiding over the last year of that era, more or less, of the Great Society kind of era of that. Now, but as far as that, it just reminds me of that for some reason, I guess, is because it's just like about sports and you do this and you do that, But yeah, it's very strange. I mean, you didn't hear the whole thing, but it's like this whole.
I'm going to put a part of it later, too.
Or like a sports newsreel almost that was,
from the mid to late 50s,
right.
I think.
Which is very strange.
One thing that I think I'm not even trying to stretch too much with this. I think one thing that weirdly connects it with this is this whole idea of playing adulthood, which is something that Pete and Don, even at this stage, are trying to do. If this guy that's, I'm in the little audio that we put in is, I'm an adult man and I've got a wife and kids, but I'm still wanting to go hang out on the golf course with my buddies, and that kind of the bridging of those worlds of work and play. And this word wasn't around at that stage exactly, but cosplaying adulthood is something that these characters are very always interested in. But anyways, go check out that, was it Choice was the name of it again? That Barry Goldwater. We're going to definitely do a commentary of that one day, because I remember Levi I don't forget about it. It's always deep down and somewhere in my head, but Levi had just been, it reminds me of this, and we were watching clips of it, and I've read the Rick Perlstein book about Barry Goldwater, which is great, part of his series. I would really recommend checking out. He describes it in the book, and I'm very like, what? And it sounds so crazy. Right. And then I Googled it, and I was like, it's literally on YouTube. You can go and watch it. And I was just like,
what's so weird about it is, like, its version of, like, fast living is so, like, early 60s, like, people dancing on their doing handstands, dancing around and stuff. It's, like, very, like, what?
Long story short, as crazy as it is, there might be one kernel of truth in that whole thing, as far as like almost predictive of what the 60s is gonna turn into. But obviously Barry Goldwater was an awful candidate,
and there's a car driving around acting crazy.
But we'll tease you. We'll get into that later, maybe in between seasons 3 and 4, because I think season 4 jumps ahead late into 64.
Yeah,
that's
because
where it starts at. I think, right?
Yeah.
So
because they do talk about the Goldwater stuff at one point when they're having the KKK spot that they had.
Well, I think that it was
for the Johnson.
I think that was like
people.
a little later, and that was what's his name?
Stan
had
about.
worked on the LBJ campaign, I think, to make that spot or whatever that.
Yeah, because he said he did that. He didn't do the Daisy ad, but
yeah.
So
it would have been after,
right? So that's like that's like what season?
That's season 5 or season 4, excuse me.
Okay,
that's
then
when
we
he's
could maybe
there.
do it.
Yeah, between the seasons.
Anyway,
all
right.
Time to get into this New Amsterdam in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My Amsterdam? No.
As we said, what did we say?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'm just going to now just start thinking about he's just staring ahead here.
Yeah.
Oh, that we're watching the Blu-rays.
Yeah, of course. And we're hitting play. And
Maggie Siff. Guest starring Robert Morse. And special guest appearance. It always looks like she's going to kick him back up.
Yeah.
He's going to go back up. But
I always think a lot about that guy's long black socks.
Mm-hmm.
Very 50s moment. Like.
Lisa Albert, written by and directed by Tim Hunter. Didn't he do the last episode too, I think?
Maybe. Have you ever watched much Bob Newhart?
You've definitely seen more than I have. What I've seen
funny.
is, I mean, like a lot of people of my generation, him and Elf is going to be the thing that most of us immediately remember him from. Obviously, he was a huge star for a long time.
Now, part of his whole joke.
Oh, now we got to replace Trudy Picture.
Lenny Bruce. Yeah. That Lenny Bruce, excuse me, Bob Newhart, of course, one of his big things he got famous for doing, or was one of his big, routines was to talk on the phone, like a one-sided phone conversation.
Right. Yeah. Nichols and May did some great versions of that, too. We've heard a lot about Jennifer here and there, but she is yet to fully exist for us, but she will eventually.
She is in the show at some point,
no, she,
right?
Yeah,
okay.
she is,
because she's not in it much, I know that, but...
I don't know about you, but I feel like in the earlier seasons, they didn't quite know how much to make Harry a character sometimes, and then eventually he settles into the role that it's going to be perfect for him. But
I'd like to meet my wife, Judy Campbell. Don Draper. Nice to meet you.
And this is Peggy, who I got pregnant, but I didn't know about.
Pregnant. I mean Peggy.
I mean pregnant. I mean
Preg.
I mean Preggers. I mean Peggy.
I mean I mean, I stuck it in. I mean,
he's essential to the process.
Yeah.
Here. So you bastard.
What kind of music here? Very apartment moment, like.
These exterior shots sometimes just scream Seinfeld with, all right, let's go to New York and film some stuff and then come back. And
yeah, it's like an older building.
Yeah.
$30,000 for a apartment in New York.
Yeah. Now, this is true for most people here and there, but like the recurring like Pete living situation is like one of the random subplots of this whole show is all the places he's going to live, and then that, even by the end, that's obviously a plot point. But so go ask your dad for money,
and he's like, no.
I mean, like he said earlier, I make $75 a week.
Yeah.
Obviously, just for inflation, yada yada yada, but. That would still be okay, probably decent money back then. Let's put that in the inflation calculator, though, and exactly see.
But we're screening a television commercial. It'll probably look better when it's breaking up bonanza.
His work is wonderful.
If you've never heard the Bonanza full Bonanza theme, you should go look that up. Listeners, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Ponderosa, my friends. That whole thing.
$800 a week.
That's all right.
Yeah. But then the overall cost of things, not even just through inflation, but percentage of what you paid for things were lower back then. So.
Welcome to the Ponderosa, my friend. I've always thought Lauren Green looks like Johnny Cash / also our Uncle Steve. By the way,
looks like she's in mourning. She's like, this is what happens when I can't get with Don Draper because he's married.
I guess.
Church bells rang out, and the air was filled with flying birds. What a joyous...
No, look, a moment of her being a mom.
Wow.
Don't blink, you'll miss it. Cause
those old school 50s, 60s era robots.
I feel like this era or this season, she's a little more motherly, and then from then on, it's like,
yeah,
nightmarish.
Polly doggy.
That's a kind of a weird transition.
Yeah.
Just like, anyway. Does he win the episode?
We'll see by the end. Don't want to make a judgment too soon now.
Yeah.
Can I use your phone? I'm her husband. I'm supposed to see my kids, and I know she's in there. I just called from the gas station.
No, I'm sorry.
Are you serious?
I'm sure you are who you say you are, but I don't...
He acts like it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
Are you serious? Yeah. It's a very good, accurate 50s suburban look to it, that shot.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Because this show's been a little, not in a big way, but I don't even want to stress it this much, a little slightly fly-by-night so far on certain, like,
period detail.
Period thing, especially like outdoor, but then that was really good though. But
I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. I was at the window.
so by the way, just to be clear, you're just like not following the court agreement, I guess, or whatever they've got, whatever agreement they've got. Like,
he's not a bad man. He just gets so.
I'm just a bad woman.
People don't.
I'm just a bad woman. Like,
use the phone. Yeah. He's not a bad man. He's just a bad husband. That would have been a good line.
He works in Manhattan. Life insurance. Now, all of a sudden, he can't live without them. Of course, if he does die instead. I'm joking. What happened? I'll tell you exactly. He had a lot of friends in the city.
friends in quotes.
There's no room for her in the end.
Someday we'll explain that as a whole concept. Maybe at a Christmas episode.
Yeah. Anyways,
I've always loved that house. I want it. Dawn's like, what the hell is this?
so what's this strumpet doing here?
Complete quiet. Well, you don't get that on the way home, like. Why do they have all that in their house like that?
Yeah, that's weird. This attire's always stuck out to me.
Oh,
His
yeah.
dad wears here.
Boats in the water.
Everything's already in the trunks. I do hope you and Trudy will be making
And his mother's such a hilarious character.
Yeah.
His brother too. Don't forget. Didn't say anything about him. Future Phantom of the Mega. Well, in the past, I guess.
Right.
However you want to see it. Phantom of the Megaplex. You used to see that guy in stuff a lot. He pops up in
Yeah.
commercials here and there now, but
Interesting.
no job for a white man. Talking about advertising, like.
There's a lot more to it than that. Advertise. Really? See, if someone were to tell me there's a lot more in the law, I'd believe it.
Also, he wanted him to be a lawyer.
I can't explain how business works to you.
We should see an alternate history show where Pete Campbell become a lawyer during this time instead of advertising.
Good lord.
Very nice. Sure you want to be that far out of town? It's not that far, Hank. Also, after 79.
No, darling. They fall off after 86. It's a very nice area.
I'm glad people know that.
Well, you know, like when you hear in movies and TV, people talk about this area of New York or city or that, I'm like, it's all like Greek to me. I'm just like, okay. I mean, after a certain point, you hear certain things and you get an idea, but just from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, I don't know any of that.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Very direct.
Just don't think it's a good idea.
He doesn't really look like him very much either. That's what's kind of funny.
Hit that girl on a bike in Montauk last summer. What did that cost you?
Bud, that's the brother's name. I forgot. These are the men's things.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk out.
I presume it's your profession that was responsible for this lapse in your manners.
That sounds like something he would say later
Yeah.
in the show. Like,
It's not about the money, Peter. Well, then what is it? Then?
what is it about? Just the fun of sabotaging your life.
Love you very specifically put it on the table or the coffee table. Oh yeah. You know, it's funny is we say that all the
I
time.
don't even remember that was from this exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wow.
We gave you your name. And what have you done with it? Yeah, we say that literally like all the time.
There's like certain quotes that you say so often. I honestly sometimes forget what it even come from. And Talladega Nights, every time I rewatch that, there's
I didn't bring it up.
So many things in that I'm like, oh wow, I say that all the time.
Yeah, well, it's like, nobody knows what's wrong with him. Like
this plane's gonna solve it.
I could tell you what's wrong with him. My armchair
There
opinion.
he is.
Yeah, Walter.
Never had much luck. Last time playing against Campbell here. Well, he's known for losing gracefully.
Talking about golf, I guess.
Yeah.
You know our director, Salvatore Romano?
Which it's always a recurring subplot they talk about is like, oh, you got to lose to the client in golf to make them look good or feel good.
What do you fellas have?
Unwind with the Psalms.
Well, we take for granted the things we need the most: water, oil, electricity, steel. I was thinking about the last time you were here, looking out this window at this incredible city and saying, it's all steel. New York City, brought to you by Bethlehem Steel. The city of Pittsburgh.
Oh, that Bethlehem Steel logo is the same one that's in that video. Yeah.
Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis.
We were talking about this off air that the Bethlehem Steel apparently got a particular mention in John Dos Passos USA trilogy novel at some point.
Which I know Weiner, he's spoken on several times. He's a big fan of.
Reminds me of those WPA ads before the war. You've been doing this long enough. You know we can throw this artwork away in a minute. But the sentiment,
We'll just have Canva AI generator do it for us.
Yeah.
I feel like you already
cities are made of steel.
Yeah. Yes.
I might be wrong.
He's like, shut your effing mouth.
Like ads for cities. You're making our company look like a middleman for another product.
Well, would you prefer a I-beam on a...
And there's some truth to that. That these ads kind of look like they're like, oh, for Chicago or Pittsburgh or not actually of Bethlehem Steel, even though that is what it is.
Walter, I'm surprised. I believe this is fairly close to what we had talked about.
We talked about a national strategy that would involve the virtues of this essential commodity.
I believe it was more specific.
Don, Walter has expressed himself. Now, if this does not meet your expectations, I'm sure Don can find something that does. Right, Don?
I hate to be a pain in the ass, but they didn't just lay there so flat. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not from a...
I ain't one of them city folks.
Bother me.
Look, if we can persuade you to stay in town another 24 hours, back at the St. Regis, of course, it will give us a chance to come up with something...
Yeah, spend more money for him to be here.
Yeah.
To a Broadway show, there's a new one. Bye Bye Birds.
I don't like birds either.
Well, something else then.
Pete, I think Sal can show Mr. Vythout. Walt?
Mr. Vyth. Walter Vyth.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. They are good drawings.
No, the WPA was a very respected style. 20 years ago.
No, you stay right here.
This is me.
Let me
with
see you
the
after
student.
class
Yeah.
vibes.
Come on, Don. That's not the first time someone's been unhappy. Give it a haircut. It's the second time it died anyway. I could feel that.
I could feel he was sentences away from my confidante.
He didn't like the idea.
Someone hadn't prepared him to like the idea. An idea he was extremely enthusiastic about 3 months ago.
I'm sorry I didn't lower his expectations enough.
You do your job. Take him safe.
It's a smart decision to have them up close earlier and then frame them apart in the boardroom like
have
that.
ideas.
That master shot.
Sterling Cooper had more failed artists and intellectuals than the Third Reich.
You know what? I have good ideas.
Is a signature Pete moment here.
Notebook and a pen just to keep track. Direct marketing. I thought of that. Turned out it already existed, but I arrived at it independently.
That's you when you said I'm Kyle Huffman and you're not.
About Chevy Chase did that on SNL.
Yeah,
I genuinely didn't
Weekend
know.
Update.
Like we all have those things that I thought of that.
Yeah.
But like it might have existed, but I definitely created it in my head, so I get credit, right? Like I feel like he's looking at that going like, yeah, whatever.
Well, no.
So she's like, ugh, I gotta have another friend.
Of course. Listen, this may be truly rude, but I was wondering. I'm supposed to be stuffing envelopes at Kennedy headquarters tonight, and my sitter just canceled, and I hate to back out because, well, you know, New York State is so important. I didn't know that.
Well, now you do, baby.
Yeah.
You know what? I shouldn't have asked. Well, let me just get dinner on the table. I guess Don can watch the kids.
Yeah, you get. Yeah, that's a strange guess. 'Cause put that lemonade into the floor show.
You're a lifesaver, truly.
How big that door is.
Yeah, it is a big door, yeah.
I know. Cleaning lady and babysitter are one. Oh, stop. It's charming.
It's going to be our first big signature Glenn look. He was in the last episode.
Mhm.
Mrs. Draper, she's going to take care of one.
Stop that now. Like, why?
But is there a problem?
I give him 5 cents a piece. He loves doing it. Oh, there.
If I ever had to learn an instrument, it'd probably be the piano. I like this. I love the sound of a piano.
Put these off and I never know where they end up. You, Glenn Bishop, in bed after the real McCoys, no discussion. You look very nice. I keep the place poorly lit. I guess there'll be a lot of nice men there. Yes, I guess so. A lot of clumsy women. Have you seen the candidate?
It's such a weird thing for her to say. There'd be a lot of nice men there.
Yeah,
like
basically saying, get somebody so I don't have to do this.
It's weird.
It's like a little Pee Wee Herman.
He does, yeah.
It was like then he turns and he has a cup.
Like Ovaltine, maybe.
But he can't put down the cup. No, it was Carnation, I think. 'Cause she had, or maybe it was Ovaltine, but I thought it was Carnation. But
Carnation later on in the show.
Yeah.
What's there even to say about Trudy's father? He's going to be one of the recurring scumbags in this show.
Yeah, he's like one of those characters you keep thinking he's done, and then he keeps coming back. He's like Duck is similar, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, well.
Duck ends up being redeemed by the end of the show.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, but he's still drunk, so
Yeah.
he still has a drinking problem.
Yeah,
as we know. Oh well. Anyway.
What's crazy is now that's like a down payment on an okay house, like to lesser house would be $30,000. That's the whole price for that.
It's funny that they're immediately like, oh yeah, whatever, like about it, like, which is good, but
yeah, and it's like objectively good.
Yeah,
but for Pete and his like ego, it's like having to accept money from him as opposed to my own family.
Yeah.
Swell.
I'm not sure it's a good idea. I am. Pete, this is an investment for me and you. Oh, and my jelly bean over here, of course.
He's like, wait, do I love her? He's like, I guess.
Yeah, for now, why not?
Preggers. I mean, Peggy. I mean, this Pauls was pregnant with meaning.
Wow,
Meanwhile,
what a transition into that
yeah,
cab
oh my
driver.
God, like ugly as hell. The cabbies and the BO. What's with the BO on these guys? How long are these shifts?
I'm not sure what it means.
I'm not sure what it means.
That's different. Why? Because that's my money. I'll get it eventually.
But this is my money.
And one of the jokes is, well, it turns out there's no money.
Yeah.
The parents cough. That's also part of the reason his dad said no. But
yeah. When did they find out about that? Is it
Was
after
it,
he dies?
When he dies, I think, yeah. Because then they find out that he had these women or kids maybe on the side or something. I don't know about kids, but affairs or whatever, I think.
Yeah.
Yet another allusion to like Depression / World War II era culture. I imagine living in major cities like New York City or Los Angeles are strange because you have all these eras of time are kind of built on top of each other. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Because the natural
Europe
American
is like
tendency
that,
is just to tear down
something
and rebuild it.
Well, it's what's interesting about this episode too. So the first episode where they started to do a common Mad Men narrative style, which was to cut between various things going on and over one evening or whatever. Which a lot of shows do that, but that's another proof. This is kind of one of the first shows to really, or the first episodes to really be more Mad Men-esque. Kent cigarettes.
Having to dig through somebody's stuff like a nosy Nosy ninny.
The pill. One of those weird toilet seat topper.
Oh, you don't see those
things.
as much anymore.
Yeah, we never, I don't think, had one that I recall, but I remember seeing them in other people's houses. That is really weird.
Yeah.
Like,
What is wrong with you? This room is occupied.
Let me get back to my real McCoys.
What do you have to say for yourself?
It's like an LA Noir interrogation.
doubt.
Yeah.
You know better than to walk in on someone like that. That room is private. Extremely private. Well, that's all I'm trying to say. Now look at me. Don't you think you owe me an apology? Well,
It's too late. Get upstairs. Like, moment.
Say goodnight, Kevin. Goodnight, Kevin.
Say goodnight, Glenn. And what's weird is that she's interpreting this as like oh, he needs more of a mother than she has. And it's like, no, it's actually just that he's like, you know, a pervert. Like, and kind of weird, so.
Well, he's also too young to,
Well, yeah,
to
right.
understand what he's doing.
Right, I don't mean
yeah.
that even in the word I meant. Pervert maybe is a strong word, but like, you know,
Oh, yeah,
perverse behavior,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, I find your whole approach perverse. Like,
She's 28 and already has 2 kids.
mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Well, back then that was. That
No, I know.
sounds
I'm just
about
thinking
right.
about now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that I've already done that, but
Do you remember when you had cut a lock of mommy's hair? Like, moment.
this is very strange.
Yeah.
That she would do that. And even her mother's, his mother's even creeped out by it later,
yeah.
right? She brings
Yeah.
it up, I think, right?
Yeah, she mentions it. I don't think it's this episode.
No, I think it's
but
later,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. No radio.
But you know, back in the day, like having, I got a TV in my room now. Back in that day, it was like, I can get a radio in my own room now.
Transistor radio. Yeah. Anyway.
You got this strumpet line going here for.
And Ken's there.
My cousins?
We were hoping you were Pete's friend.
His American cousin.
Yeah.
Will you look at that? You could lose a nickel in those dimples.
Nickel and them dimples.
I thought your cousin Wendy was a redhead.
No, that's my cousin Doris. She wasn't available this evening.
I think we can make do with this branch.
That's so weird. Like,
Yeah. It's like he knows that this is all a ruse, but he's still going to play with it. Play into it. Preggers, I mean, yeah.
He's going to play with himself. I mean, he's going to play with the idea.
Well, he's been abused sexually,
Yeah.
as we've said. That this guy, most memorably, was in Independence Day,
Yeah.
the movie with where he's
The
making fun
movie.
of Randy
Independence
Quaid.
Day, the movie.
But I'm saying, this
Yeah,
is television.
right.
We have to
Yes.
make clear when the movies come up. That's honestly, though, a better idea than what Don's ideas were. I feel like this whole project for Draper, and I'm sure this happens, and it's just like, oh, that's like, oh, Bethlehem Steel is like kind of one of those whatever accounts we'll take some money from. They're not top tier like, you know, Lucky Strike is. What a creepo.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
I want this drink. Italy.
Remember?
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah. Okay. That's a weird picture.
Kennedy button on the brochure there. Not that Don would even, his vampire Don, by the way, would even really talk about it with her, but like he's obviously working on the Nixon campaign. And
oh, I love this little town of Bethlehem moment here.
Yeah.
How dumb that is.
Oh, is he secretly a Jew? Like, like. Not that I'm not saying that's a problem at all. I'm just saying like that was again a conspiracy theory or theory early on in the show.
There was no room in the end.
That's a better idea, I think,
than the last one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Looks pretty familiar. Well, I wanted to maintain our original strategy, but I think the wordplay achieves what you're looking for. The idea that from the acorn that is Bethlehem Steel comes America's great cities.
I know this isn't the idea you want to sell me, so don't sell it so damn well.
Sell it so dang well.
Excuse me? The backbone idea. Campbell pitched it to me last night. I like it.
What backbone idea?
Bethlehem Steel, the backbone of America. Wasn't that it?
He's like, oh yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
Frankly, I liked that you were so enthusiastic about it, you couldn't wait to tell.
Well, if he looked over at Pete like,
your A double S is grass.
Yeah.
Bring some more of your family next time, like.
Bring your mother, like.
And then that's a whole subplot.
Bring some of them mamacitas.
You know what I think? I think I did something good and you got the compliment for it.
Listen, Pete. I need you to go get a cardboard box. Put your things in it. Okay?
Okay. What a great line.
I love Sal's like, oh, okay.
You picked the wrong time to buy an apartment.
It's kicking while he's down.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's funny that his outsized reaction here is a lot like later when he's like celebrating about something and he's like dancing around doing the whole thing, you know, backing out.
Love that was going a little bit in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Pete Campbell's last day? It's today. What happened?
He's just sitting reading the newspaper.
It's the hash he made yesterday.
Well, he'll do other things later to create the mystique, you know. So this whole conflict is basically about the order of operations.
Yeah,
so
because
to
it
speak,
doesn't
and the
really matter
protocol of,
actually.
like,
but
how they do things in the business,
right? Which is BS ultimately, but whatever. He's having his little moment.
Well, he should not. I don't think he should get fired for this.
No,
but there should be he should have talked to Don about it
Right.
first and went over it, and but he feels as though, well, I've got
Well,
to do
there's
things
a lot
on
of.
my own.
I mean, there's
like,
pride for Don
yeah, right,
in that
there
too.
is, yeah.
About it just made me look bad, right? Or well, it didn't actually, but that he had an idea that I didn't have. Like,
Frozen food. I mean, I know she gets some kind of help. Still, she looks so exhausted. She tries to put on a brave face.
That's how lame this is that she's complaining about her in this. I guess that's what her life is, those,
yeah.
Honestly, I think she's jealous of me. I've seen it before. I was in a sorority.
She speaks Italian.
Yeah, she
I was
does.
in a sorority. I did this. I did that. I, me. Yeah, whatever. The me generation.
Of course, my real concern is those children. I mean, baby won't know the difference, but that poor little boy. The person taking care of him isn't giving him what he needs. You know?
No, he probably doesn't. Anyway,
There's not a lot shown about Bert's various secretaries.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Clearly got lifts he wears.
oh yeah, because that was a noticeable.
We get a little bit of a taste of his Japanese fetish here.
Yeah.
Again, as we've said before, Bert's kind of almost like an uncle figure to Roger. His dad started this agency with Bert Cooper and some others.
I wish I could agree with that.
He's a junior account executive who brought his own idea to a client in a bar. There are rules. There are other rules. What's the problem? New York City is a marvelous machine filled with a mesh of levers and gears and springs like a fine watch, wound tight.
This line.
Always ticking. Sounds more like a bomb. Nothing except they
That's such
Yeah.
a great line. Like, need to save that for anytime somebody asks, "Do you know so and so's parents or family
Yeah.
or whatever?" There's another depression on when they had that.
So then he's going off starting to think about something else. And He's
Yeah.
like, well,
Oh, the good old days, whenever. Well, there's that octopus painting that Peggy
Yeah.
later gets.
Club. The Century Club.
It's a marquee issue for us. See my point?
Absolutely. He's more valuable than the agency I am.
Don't fool yourself. There's a Pete Campbell at every agency out there.
Well, let's get one of the other ones.
You're going to need a stronger stomach if you're going to be back in the kitchen sitting like a sausage.
That was a big watch.
You handle the words. You know how much we want you here with us.
No doubt about it. Don's a big boy.
This is the first hint of Don, like, maybe I'll go somewhere
Yeah.
else, like, which will happen at least once every season. Like,
Yeah. Well, and then it becomes once every episode
Yeah.
for a little while, it seems like. The contract issue.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Let me go trim my bonsai tree here.
I'm glad we're all better now.
I bet he has a different bonsai tree though that he's trimming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the great scenes.
His football trophy, by the way.
His Heisman.
Yeah.
What you did was totally unacceptable. I realize that. I want you to be very clear about this. You were fired. I wanted you out. Cooper wanted you out. And you would be if it weren't for this man. He thought you deserved another chance.
This is suddenly a great thing to do to make it look like, Don was sticking up for you.
He fought for you. That look. Don Draper's large chest.
There's another thing. Your generation didn't serve like we did.
I won't let you down, Don. Jesus, Campbell. Don't ever say that.
And Don's kind of acting like, yeah, this is what's happening. Deep down, he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Don Draper's large chest.
I bet daily friendship with that bottle attracts more people to advertising than any salary you could bring.
But and that's literally him saying, "Yeah, because you were drunk."
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah, that turns out, yeah.
Yeah. This is his whole little pearl of wisdom moment.
Yeah.
Because it feels better than unbuttoning your collar. Because we deserve it. You drink because it's what men do. What about shaking hands? I see a lot of that too with you, boy. No joke. Your kind with your gloomy thoughts and your worries, you're all busy licking some imaginary wound. Not all imaginary. Ooh. Maybe I'm not as comfortable being powerless as you. Pardon? Yeah, you shouldn't compete with Pete Campbell. Yeah, you are. Not on a personal level, but for the world.
Is that he's doing the opening credit reverse shot like there? All right, we're done our drink. Now let's drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke. Well, they definitely were. So. Get me again.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought he was doing like a thumbs up or like like something, or we the ones, like acknowledge my tribal chief, Bert Cooper.
I'm so glad you could come. I'd like you to meet Mrs. Clifford Lyman. She'll be one of your new neighbors, and she's on the co-op board. Of course, you know.
So go ahead and get involved in the politics of this place. That's what you do.
Yeah, and of course there's a whole thing, it's kind of already mentioning it, in a way about their whole ability to conceive is a whole thing throughout the show for a while. So
yeah, before they have their daughter.
Yes, that's true.
That was Nicholas Dykeman, right? On his mother's side.
Can you imagine? Orchards on 204th Street. He's buried at the Church of the Intercession.
Oh my goodness. Wait until I tell my husband there's going to be a Dykeman living in the building. He'll be so thrilled.
Sweetheart, tell Mrs. Lyman the story about your great-great-aunt getting in that fight with the British soldier and the Hessian.
I doubt Jackie Gleason lives in this building, and oh god, what was his character's name?
Ralph Cramden.
Ralph Cramden, yeah, on the Honeymooners.
So is Dykeman
the Dutch name?
A Dutch name, yeah. Because I was gonna say
because the Roosevelts had Dutch ancestry, I know, which they made an allusion to. They're distantly related.
Because it's also
Pete's
called New
alone.
Amsterdam,
Even old Pete's alone, even though he's moving up in certain ways. I do love this resolution for him. Is kind of he technically, he avoided being fired. He's getting these things, but he feels like he's feeling like he's an imposter in his own body in terms of not feeling like him and his family didn't have the money for the apartment. He technically saved the day with the client, but he still definitely took a hit with like really great episode. Not to say he won or lost, but just development for Pete. In that sense.
And I think that it's interesting to have him like in the middle of the city that his family kind of sort of used to own, but now doesn't, but they still feel like they do, and it's interesting.
All righty, so that's New Amsterdam. Another high-quality episode of Mad Men.
Yep. The good one. Maybe the best one so far. I don't know.
It's up there, for sure. I forgot. Yeah, we're doing an episode ranking at the end of the season.
Yeah, so we'll worry about that then. Because I've thought about doing that as it goes.
Yeah.
I think that'd be too complicated for now. So, all right. So, I guess we'll start with our character awards. Lucky Strike Championship. I'm going to let you go first on this one. For who won the episode?
It's toasted.
So going into this, I already thought I knew who it was going to be, and it definitely is. Roger Sterling won this one, mostly for 2 scenes, basically, because of the big scene of him dressing down Pete and like him and Dawn kind of, getting puffed up because of that. But even that dialogue exchange after that too, as far as I think Roger represents kind of, again, someone who's actually is kind of important in the city, but like, still, and we'll see this over the course of the show, is going through a larger decline.
Yeah.
And again, this was where like John Slattery was still not consistently in the show as much as he's going to be. Just Roger Sterling in general, what a gem, what a great character, awesome performance by Slattery. Shouldn't he have won, like, literally, just in your head, like, if you went back and, like, oh, yeah, when he was on Mad Men, he won, like, Best Supporting Actor every year, because he's just that good in that role. And he didn't at all, obviously. But, just literally for, like, 2 scenes, I'm going to go with Roger on this one.
Okay. I think that, I'm really close to saying that myself. But I feel like, and I agree with all that, but I randomly want to go with the other half of the company and say Burt Cooper won this one.
Okay. Only 1 scene.
Yes, I think Burt Cooper is, more in a negative sense than even a positive one, one of the most fascinating people in this show.
Yeah, for sure.
And his constant, ties to an older era and this, like, mysterious, I know all kind of attitude about things is very strange. And, I mean, you could even see it as he lost the episode in a way, too, but in this scene. But, like, just him I think what I like about it is it's, like you said with Roger, this is the first time you're really seeing him of, let's go to the wise sage on the mountain and see what he has to say for himself. And, like, him just being like, oh, well, actually, like, nah, this is the way it works, and like, and just that he can say all those things and be very like able to turn the conversation the way he wants it to go, and then by just saying, well, there you go, whatever, and then just sitting back down and messing with his trimmers and just kind of like whatever about the whole thing. It's a very, I think, authoritative moment.
That's a good choice. Yeah.
But,
so Sterling Cooper,
Roger, I'm really close to getting that too.
Yeah,
also,
and we'll talk more about Burt Cooper as the show goes on. And he makes some allusions. This is the first time really with him in this where he's like making allusions to like clubs he's either a part of or on the surface or on the perimeter of, and his knowledge of these worlds beyond the worlds of certainly Don, but maybe even Roger too. So. I think that's a solid choice.
All right, so that's Roger Sterling and Burt Cooper winning our Lucky Strike Championships. All right, now we have the Secor Laxative Award for who lost the episode. Who are you going with this, Kyle?
They do. Every commercial block on air in the land of Lincoln is clogged up with laxative buys.
I'm going to go with Andrew Campbell, who's Pete Campbell's father. Because I've got a long-term goal with this guy with this award that I want to make sure happens for him.
I mean, this is his one chance.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
He's got one other chance too. Actually, right. You know, we'll talk about that later when we
Pretty
get there.
big loss,
but,
I guess.
Total, like, okay, so there's a lot of things not to like about this guy. One, again, well, as Don said, he puts out a mediocre product.
Yeah.
Pete's more than mediocre, though, of course. But, like, just first off, his attire. Like, what's he wearing here? He's wearing, like, a blazer with, like, plaid
smoking
shorts.
Jacket and, like, plaid short. I mean, it literally looks like later on in the show when they have to have this real quick, like, oh, we all have to come in and deal with this problem episode. I don't remember what is the situation, but like Pete comes in wearing basically tennis like stuff, and it looks kind of like that almost. It's like, okay,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
but kind of similar.
So, and then also just like it's advertised, not a job for a white man. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like, that's just like,
that really doesn't make any sense.
I'm baffled by him in all the wrong ways. So, again, this is his only screen appearance officially. So he to me, he had to lose. So what he's doing.
Yeah.
So who you
not
going?
a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm going Glenn Bishop on this one. I mean, and I have.
He's gonna have a lot of L's. I feel like.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and get him racked up now because it's gonna be a while. Let me make sure I'm spelling his name correctly.
Don't know if it's one N
yes,
or two
okay,
N's.
it's one. It's just
okay.
one. All right. We could start with the obvious. Which
creepy
is
Glenn, as he's been
creepy Glenn.
He's been memified into.
I mean, creepy Carpus, like you know. No, I mean, it's just so weird. I mean, and like, the only good thing he has to his name is that he can play piano at this point. Like, that's it. I mean, he literally is. I don't like children that are too quiet. I find that to be very disturbing and not right. It's not natural to me. So now it's weird because you're like, why would a teacher say he doesn't like kids who are quiet? I like kids who are quiet when they need to be quiet. And then there's those kids that are like eerily silent.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, there's something not right here. Like there's something going wrong.
Right, yeah.
And then, of course, you have the fact that he literally walks in on a woman using the bathroom.
And she tells him to get out.
Right.
And then he still stands there. So she has to go and close the door and lock it. Like.
But the worst of all of this, other than the fact he's drinking Carnation also, which is kind of strange, and he just like has it there all of a sudden. It's like it just appears. That could be a tarot card. Is like Glenn Bishop with the Carnation.
Tarot cards. That's definitely like one of them.
He'd be Knight of Cups. Yeah, I mean. Put down the cup. But you know what the worst thing is? He's watching a Western on TV, a Western TV show. Like, what a brain rot.
Yeah, that was the brain rot. You know, brain rot was the word of 2024. Oxford English Dictionary declared it just this week. Yeah, brain rot.
Yeah, so he lost big time L on that. I mean,
and he's got further losses to come.
Oh, yeah.
I think, honestly, the big challenge for him is going to be, is he ever going to win? Like, is there a window where he could win an episode?
He might. The best chance he's going to get is when him and Sally go on that trip in the city, and he feels bad about her having her period and telling Don why does everything turn out so crappy, and Don feeling kind of sad for him and him getting to drive the car. Like, that's the best chance he has, and I don't think he's even going to win that.
Other things going on that episode, that's going to be hard to figure out who's winning that episode. Anyway, yes. So he might have a shot then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, that's the one chance he might have. But as of now, no.
Yeah. So we got some new characters in the mix.
Yeah, so just to be clear, that's Andrew Campbell with Kyle's C-Core laxative and Glenn Bishop with my C-Core laxative. So yeah, all new folks. I'm glad we're getting quite a few different names in here over time.
Yeah.
I felt like it was going to be dominated by certain groups for a while, but you know. Interestingly, of course, it should be noted, this is the first time that your pick has won.
Peggy's won before, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, that Roger, this is your first Roger win. Did you pick Peggy at one point, or did I?
I think you did, maybe.
Yes, I did on the second episode. No, you did, and I picked Betty on that one. You picked
right, okay.
So yeah, and then
I think it's interesting. I think looking at our awards so
Harry
far,
and Ted are not.
We have individually all given it out to different people per episode. I think, right?
No, because we gave Don.
Well, no, I'm saying like all 4 of mine are different people, and all 4 of yours are different. Not totally different, but like within our own.
Yes, within our group.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
they're
what
different.
I mean. Yeah.
And then Don has been, right. Yeah, so
we were unanimous on that.
Yeah, on both of his wins and losses. So, yeah. All right, so next is the Mohawk Airlines plaque for the most shocking event, line of dialogue, incident, idea, visual of the episode. What are you going on with this one?
I'm sorry, am I bothering you?
What's going on?
I just got off the phone with my brother. It's the strangest thing. Apparently my father was on that plane.
What?
There wasn't a big one that really stands out as much as some of the other ones, I feel like. I will say just the weird, like, what was the Bethlehem's executive's name?
Walter Veith.
Okay. His cosplay of, like, oh, your cousins, and we're going to, like, maybe have a night with them. Like, no, ooh, ick.
I'm writing down Walter Veith, branch of the family quote.
Yeah. Just
okay.
like, I know that's a hard abstract thing to exactly put down easily, but like, what? Like, very weird.
Yeah.
Very, very odd. Like, that you're playing cosplay with his family. And I know we all know it's a ruse and a gag, but like, just weird. Like, to me, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a weirdo. You know, I'm having trouble with this one, and there's a couple I want to go with.
Well,
I mean,
there's also Glenn related stuff too.
I feel like I've gone over that though. I mean, obviously Pete being kind of like, oh, you might be fired. Like that's one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking randomly though, and maybe this is too cute and too stupid, but I'm gonna go with Andrew Campbell's short choice. I just can't, because whenever I think of this episode, that's where my mind goes first.
Right.
Like it's just.
Mm-hmm.
So
Andrew Campbell kind of wins 2 awards this episode.
Well, lost one and won another. But I don't know.
In quotes, winning a Razzie.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know if most shocking moment is a win either. That's more like a. I don't know.
But he gets the plaque. I mean.
Yeah,
he gets to hang the plaque in his office.
It's like a thriller, you know? It's like, is it positive or negative aspects of it being thrilling? You never really know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Andrew Campbell fit, is what I'm going to say on that. All right. I'm pretty certain on my patchy palm here, so coming up. So, Walter, so to recap, Mohawk Airlines, you had Walter Veith, branch of the family comment. I had Andrew Campbell's fit.
Okay.
So next, we have the Patchy Palm for the best cultural reference in the episode. What are you going to go with?
This is Patchy.
This is a little tougher. I think I mentioned it earlier, just going with like the Bob Newhart album, just like, you know, that guy was still around for so long.
I'm
after
doing
this.
the same thing, just to be clear, because I was already wanting to do that. So.
Just because, so yeah, we can both go with the same thing on that. That's fine, but.
This is the first time we've had something different for one of our other awards, by the way. So
yeah, or the same, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
Just again for us to watch it, even in 2007. I mean, even when the show aired, it's like, oh wow, Bob Newhart's still around, still alive, you know, and
still on TV.
And also, I personally didn't know that he had a background in advertising or in kind of accounts or accountings or whatever. Yeah. So that's just something that I personally learned. So, and Bob Newhart, I feel like, is one of the few truly universally beloved figures in media. I've never heard one person say one bad thing about Bob Newhart. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
He's just clearly a warm, gentle guy. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going with too. I mean, I'm a relative Bob Newhart fan from what I've seen, so that was one I felt like even going into the episode I was more going to probably choose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So that's that. Just to recap, once again, Lucky Strike championships go to Sterling and Cooper on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Mine being Cooper, yours being Sterling. You went with Andrew Campbell for your C-Core laxative. I went with Glenn Bishop. You went with the Walter Veith branch of the family for the comment for the Mohawk Airlines plaque. I went with the Andrew Campbell fit. And we both went with Bob Newhart's album for the Patchy Palm on that. So there you go. So as of now, we have 1, 2, 3, well, this is 11 different characters that have made it onto this so far.
So far, Don has the lead with 2 Lucky Strikes, and also him and Peter tied for most C-Core laxatives. So.
But Pete's already won one, also.
Lucky Strike Championship.
Yeah. So which one was that? I wonder.
You gave it to him last episode.
That's right. Why did I do that? Maybe it was because he was like, kind of nicer to Peggy, and it was like he was, I'm trying to do good as a husband, and he deserved that one. Okay.
I will say, Andrew Campbell already one episode putting in serious minutes, putting in serious stats.
Well,
numbers.
I'm glad he did because his time's
again,
up.
I think per quota he might be one of the most per capita one of the most awarded characters on this show.
That or Lyle Evans, who ain't even in the daggone thing. Yeah. All right, so
to preview the next episode,
5G. Is this an important one? I don't know. Have we heard?
I was just thinking. There's a thing that gets talked about with it was one of my favorite movies of this past year. My favorite movie personally of this past year. I saw the TV Globe.
Yeah.
I believe I like too. There's there's a show within that show called, trust me, I'm going somewhere with this, called The Pink Opaque, and it's basically like a take on Buffy or like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Are You Afraid of the Dark or certain Nickelodeon shows of the 90s. And there was these episodes that had nothing to do with really the background or mythology of the show, but then every once in a while, especially with Buffy, and this was alluded to in I Saw the TV Globe with The Pink Opaque is, no, this is a lore episode.
Yeah.
This is where everything stops and it builds into the lore, the mythology, the background of the show. 5G is one such episode for Mad Men, which is a strange thing to say it with. But this is the first one that really drills down into Don's identity. I mean, the last episode, we got the first slight crack in that with the guy seeing him on the train calling him Dick Whitman. But, this is going to be a deeper look into who is Don Draper. Not only that, this is also a pivotal moment. There is a moment in this in 5G where is this going to be a gunplay type of show moment that is immediately eschewed, and something far worse than a gun is pulled out.
Yeah, because we talk about that a lot.
What the whole currency of this show is about is wrapped up in that moment.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot, but that is a genuine intensity in that moment of, is he literally going to kill his own brother?
And when you rewatch it, I think that moment gets lost on people, but especially when you're first watching it, or especially when it even first aired, that's when Don Draper is really revealed. Obviously we're going to get
not
more
even
revelation,
Dick Whitman, the version of who he really is.
The Don Draper persona is wrapped up in that moment, not just because he does not kill his brother or whatever. It's all about the money. It's all about going the other way. It's all about forgetting.
It's all about starting over.
Quotes,
he does the same thing later when he's talking to Rachel Menken in the Nixon-Kennedy situation where he's basically been found out, and even though Burt Cooper's whatever about the whole thing, he's still let's just leave. There's nothing here. Moment, and all that kind of nonsense about I think that's in that episode, but I can't. Maybe that's even in the finale. I can't remember, but
that is somewhere.
But anyway, that is its own version of this same thing of somebody being you can just leave your problems, which is a very Jack Nicholson at the end of 5 Easy Pieces moment of just whatever. I'm just going to leave because I don't care. And then it's easier to deal with problems by fleeing than actually staying to deal with them. And in that way, showing how Don is actually a really pathetic, sad person. Because you look at him and he's the guy who's all put together. He looks like John Hamm, but really he's a very immature, somebody who masks his fear with all this certainty about being able to deal with it in a way that only is prolonging it.
Just to we'll reread this next time, but also Don Draper is shaken when his past life comes to haunt him. After his picture appears in a local newspaper, Adam Whitman, a man who claims to be his younger brother, approaches him. Don, or Dick as his brother knows him, initially denies everything, but in the end admits to having taken on a new name. He refuses, however, to have anything to do with him and tries to buy his silence. And then, so just that's obviously dominates the episode, but as far as other things also, when one of the admin gets a short story published, Pete Campbell is frustrated with his own stories have yet to see the light of day. When his wife approaches an old beau to see if he publishes the stories, he has an interesting proposition for her. So that's also...
Oh, wait, that's the whole... oh, Lord, what's his name? That guy that's like... They bring up later, that weird guy that had like a thing for her or whatever.
Charlie Fittich.
Charlie Fittich. Yeah. Yes. Because that comes up like... Season 5 or 6.
That's one of those great obscure things that you could almost forget about.
Yeah.
And but this is this
while you were
thing,
necking with Charlie Fittich.
It's something that has been in his head for years and years and years, and he's finally going to come back at her with that.
I'm looking him up. Yep, literally, Charlie Fittich is a whole person. I love, by the way, that Charlie Fittich is so nothing that he even, the first picture is like Don and Adam in the 5G hotel room. There is a picture of him here though that what a punk. Look at him.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Is he gonna lose the episode
Charlie
already?
Fittich,
Do we just want to preemptively I don't know. I think Don's probably gonna lose that, or maybe Adam will. I don't know. We'll have to wait on that one because that'll be another one where like, who wins this? Because it's like
everybody's gonna kind of lose in a roundabout way.
Yeah, because I think we're being more realistic with this whole show about like what someone like Don wins the episode quote in that by getting rid of a problem, right? But he doesn't win. That's what I'm saying. So for us, it's more of like that than it is.
It's it's threading the needle between a literal successful win and a moral win. It's like, to what extent are those two things possible in this show, which I think we're already coming to realize, and we knew this anyways, is going to be very hard to accomplish both of those things in this world, as it is in real life.
And sometimes it's going to just be about, they made a great, like Burt Cooper winning for me, not on a moral level exactly, ever, in his case, because I like him, but he's a subtly evil person deep down in a lot of ways.
I think, too,
I
don't think, and well, maybe I did this a little bit with mine, and maybe a little bit with Burt here, but like, sometimes there's just going to be episodes where if an actor just killed it and just gave an amazing performance, then they're just going to win.
The Maidstone Club, the Century Club.
You know what I mean? Even if that character just
go back to the club.
Lost.
Right.
If they give just a
that's what I'm saying.
Performance,
it's more about he was just Burt Cooper in the flesh moment. It's more what, let them open the kimono moment.
Well, that's another episode of not only Mad Men, but Blowing Smoke. This is Kyle.
This is Levi.
Take care. God bless.
In baseball's dugouts, they're talking about Cincinnati's Ted Kluszewski. The slugger's big bat is hampered this year by his aching, injured back. And on that back, Ted carries the red leg pennant hopes. It could go either way. Yankee infielder Billy Martin, a real pepper pot. Reporter Tom McMorrow asks him a leading question.
Now, Bill, you've been quoted in one of the papers as saying that you thought you were the best second baseman in baseball, and people say you're very cocky. What about that?
Well, if you don't have any confidence in yourself out there, Tom, then you don't belong out in the field. When you have those bad days, you got to believe in yourself so you can come right back and have the good day. But if you just quit on yourself, say, well, there's somebody else out there better than I am, then you're not going to be a very good ball player. You got to believe that you're the best out there. Maybe you. The whole country don't think you are, but you have to think you are yourself.
And that concludes our broadcast day.
You best be sleeping.